Hey guys, welcome back. It's Jaden at Mazda here at Riverside Mazda in sunny Southern California. And today we've got the 2023 Mazda 3 hatchback in the Turbo Premium Plus trim. And we're gonna go over some of the cool styling and the features. So let's hop into it. Now, before we get into any of the features of the car, I wanted to let you guys know that we have the 2024 model Mazda 3 hatchback coming out really soon. Production actually started in May of 23, but they are going to have these coming in the coming weeks, so look out for that. We're gonna go over, is this gonna be a value buy before the next model year comes out? We're gonna go over the new changes and the styling and the features because this top trim MSRP is coming in about 36,000 and some change versus the incoming Mazda 3 for 2024. It's got a little bit of a bump and that goes up to 38,000. So we're gonna go ahead and decide, is it worth the money? But let's go ahead and hop into the styling. So starting off in the front, not much has changed here with the Mazda 3 hatchback. It still is elegant and sleek as we know. This platform came out in 2019 and we are still on our 2023 model year going into 24. So on the hood, we can see we have a nice character line that flows right into the A-pillar, nothing too overstyled. And as we move our way down, we're gonna go ahead and check out some things. We can see we have our LED daytime running light that's gonna be around there, and these nice LED strips that go through here. And then of course your main LED bulb looks kind of like it's flickering because of the shutter speed here, or sorry, the frames per second. But with the headlights, what's really cool that they do is your adaptive front headlight system. Basically all that is, when you're moving your steering wheel up to 15 degrees, whichever way you turn it, the headlight will actually swivel with the steering wheel to go ahead and illuminate the road as you turn at nighttime. It's a really nice safety feature to have, and it's really cool. Helps with visibility a bunch. Okay, moving a little bit further, we do see the LED turn signal that's up at the top there. And of course, everybody loves it. This has got a nice black, actually, it's got a little bit of a sparkle to it in your grille surround here. But your grille surround with our gloss black grille with a mesh pattern, which looks really cool. Tucked up there, we see parking sensors on either side, and then one on the outside for both sides as well. And of course, right here, hidden very nicely, is our front camera, because this does have the top-down 360 camera view. And I like the way that Mazda's integrated this camera. I know a lot of manufacturers, when they do that, they just kind of stick it on there. It doesn't really blend very well, but they've gone the extra step to hide it, which is really appreciated. And of course, right underneath that, they have the Mazda emblem. That's gonna house things like your radar cruise control and automatic smart city braking to avoid collisions. And of course, finally finishing off the bottom, this has got a nice clean look, and we can see our front air dam splitter, which comes in our appearance pack here in the front, and our little pass through to keep extra air to feed that intercooler, because this turbocharged engine needs all the air that it can get. Moving on from the front, kind of moving over to the side with the wheels, let's go ahead and attack that really quick. Mazda is doing this a really nice style. This is an 18-inch black alloy wheel, which looks really cool here. We are going to be wrapping this with the Bridgestone Turanza tire, a nice all-season tire, but good performer in the summer. And it's got a relatively low profile tire at 45 series, but it's a 215, which means they're going to be really affordable because it says on the smaller side, but it still has a mixture of comfort and a nice sporty ride. And we can see this is paired to our silver lug nuts here, but they can be optioned to be black to add a stealthier look. We see our anodized aluminum caliper in the back there. Moving on from the wheels to the overall side silhouette, gonna check out some styling here. Gonna go over to the mirror, which are gonna be finished in the gloss black with a nice sparkle on here, which looks really cool. Housed in there too, we have our LED turn signals, because this has got that heartbeat pattern. And then right underneath there, we have our cameras, which once again, it's tucked away really nicely. I like how Mazda's neatly integrated that. It's not too in your face. We got a nice side shot here. We can see the overall dimensions. And something that I really like that Mazda implements on a lot of vehicles is kind of like their little S-curve design into the body paneling. So you can't really tell too much, because here we are on this empty roof here at Riverside Metro, but you can kind of see the design there. It's going little S, reflecting the body lines, the parking lines in the body here, which adds a lot of character. And then we can see coming from a soft shoulder, we have a body line that kind of flows and evaporates into the door. You don't really see it in the second half of the vehicle, but looks really cool. Really awesome that they have here is this chrome strip that goes along underneath the window trim there. It's not too much. I don't like how they've done it in some other cars, but the Mazda 3, it's really thin, so it's not a huge deal. Gloss black would be cool, but this is really nice as well. Of course, up top we got our sunroof, but it's in our perch position there to give it a little bit more of an aggressive stance. And we can see we've got some sleek door handles here, and then a flat black splitter that goes along the length of the car there on the side. Moving to the rear quarter angle, which not everybody's a huge fan of. They say that the Mazdas tend to be a bit of a bubbly design, but I think it adds a lot of presence to the car. Makes it feel a bit bigger than it actually is, which is really cool. Makes it look pretty imposing. And then you can see up here, paired to our front air splitter, we have our roof spoiler that's going to be attached. And you can see it kind of curves up a little bit here, like a nice little lip. And we have our character line that goes 1, 2, paired with our Sirius XM shark fin antenna. And you can see right there in the middle, there's a connect. And we can see the brake light is actually hit up there as well. And then that finally brings us to the back, where we can see our nice stance on this vehicle. Makes it look really, really wide and aggressive, which I like. And then if we're looking at some things, of course, standard all-wheel drive in these turbo trims. But on the underside here, we also are going to have parking sensors and then a backup cam that's, once again, tucked nice and neat under there and out of the way, and gloss black finish at the bottom here. And of course, we have 2.5-inch exhaust outlets on the back, which look really good. Mazda seem to be moving away from that, sadly, with their new SUVs, but I'm glad they're keeping it here in the car. Since we're in the back here, we're gonna go ahead and check out some of the space in the hatch. So you do have, conveniently, in the Mazda emblem, a nice little release there, and we can check out some of the space here, which is pretty good. The Mazda 3 Hatch over the sedan, looks like you get a little bit less depth, but you get, in exchange, a little bit more vertical space here. But if you guys need even more than that, we can release our privacy shutter here that comes standard on the Mazda 3s here. And you can see in the corner, you have a little button that you can press that throws the seats right down. And then you can see how much more space we have if you guys want to put even more stuff in there, right? And then underneath here, we have our Mazda 3 carpet liner with some nice aluminum touch here. We can lift that up and we can see a full-size spare, which not a lot of manufacturers are doing these days. You're getting fix-a-flat now more often than not. And then right in the middle of there, we have our Bose subwoofer, because this is, once again, the Bose 12-speaker audio, which sounds really good. And this is a nice even distribution of the bass throughout the car. So here we are underneath the hood of the Mazda 3. We can see we've actually got a pretty tasteful engine cover here, and I'm not usually a big fan of engine covers, but not too much plastic they've overdone. We can see Skyactiv G Turbo, but this does come off pretty easy. You got a couple clips, 4 to be exact, 1 on each corner, and then that lifts up and out, and it reveals the engine bay, which we can see our beautiful 2.5-liter turbocharged inline 4 here. Everything's exposed with these new engines. You can see just so many electronics here, but it's nice and compact in the car, right? We can see our big mounted turbo right there in the back. And of course, since we're speaking turbo, let's go ahead and talk power figures. And these cars, we're going to be making about 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque if you opt to use regular unleaded 87 gas. But if you want to use the more premium 91, you do get a bit of a power bump that goes all the way up to 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. So definitely recommend that. Gives you the extra pep in your step. But even for being a turbo, you still get some pretty good gas numbers. You'll be averaging about 26 miles per gallon in this. You're getting about 31 or so on the highway. So not too bad as a cruiser either, because we know Mazda, this is still the outgoing powertrain, but Skyactiv is very neat and it handles really nice with a lot of aluminum internals, because people always wonder what does Skyactiv mean. Basically Mazda's engine naming technology, but they put a lot of work in developing this and it performs really well, right? And this 2.5 liter is connected to the 6-speed automatic transmission. I know a lot of the industry standard is moving towards the CVT, but the 6-speed, it's steady, it's proven, it's reliable. The shifts are very smooth. Only thing is, it's beginning to show its age. In the time of 8, 9, 10 speeds, dual clutches and things like that, the 6-speed does shift a little bit slow, but once again, it's kind of an outgoing platform, but it's really, it pairs nicely to this car as well. And then while we're here under the hood, gonna talk about some likes, some dislikes. I like the placement of everything. Looks like everything's really easy accessible. If you want to do some easy maintenance to it yourself, or whether you want to get it done at the dealer, nothing's too hard and out of the way. You got to move a bunch of stuff to access. We got a little hood pop here, which I don't love this. I wish it had struts, but the benefit of this obviously is, compared to hood struts, this will never go out because it's not hydraulic. It'll never break, so that'll save you some money down the line. But we've seen everything underneath the hood, so let's go ahead and hop inside and check out what makes this vehicle premium. Before we hop in, one thing I always like to check with these cars is Mazda claims they're trying to be a more premium brand. So that encompasses many things, including the door shut sound. So we're gonna open up here and then we're gonna give it a shut. We're gonna hear how this sounds. Sounds pretty sturdy, but let's give it another one. We'll put it close so we can get a good hear. Yeah, and I like the way that sounds. And of course, these are gonna have keyless entry. You can see the little indentation on the handle there. And if we pull that, and it'll unlock, and we can get inside and check it out. So here we are on the inside of the 2023 Mazda 3 Hatch. Right away, we're greeted with a very premium interior. And not only get premium looking, it's premium sounding, premium feeling. It's all encompassing. So starting off with the door here, we're gonna see nice leatherette trim that flows nicely into the dash. Right underneath that, nice red leather that matches the seats in the dash here with some nice contrast stitching that goes along the length of the entire door there. Underneath that, we have the nice aluminum trim, not over styled, just very simple, flows right into the door handle here, which feels pretty nice to touch. And you can see that goes into our Bose sound system. That's got an aluminum speaker grill, adding to the, once again, more premium look here, which I really like. They've done a good job in this. Moving down to the door controls, we've got our galvanized tips on our window switches here, which feel really nice and pleasant to hold here. And more soft touch leather that you're going to get here. So where you would naturally rest your elbow, this is a really good place to be, and that goes into the handle there and on the inside of the door. And some nice, you can see once again, more stitching because everything's about layers here. The bottom half of the door, they did use a little bit of plastic here, but it's not a huge deal to me, seeing how you're going to have water bottles and things like that, so you wouldn't want to mess up the leather that easy. So not a huge deal, but you can probably fit a pretty healthy sized water, maybe a one liter and a half size Fiji water in there. So you got some good space and some extra stuff in the back here. Moving on from the door into the dash, once again, nice red leather. Now let's take a step back. I like the way everything is oriented towards the driver. It really feels cockpit. Mazda really makes driver-centric vehicles meant for driving, but everything you see, it's angled towards the driver, and it looks very natural with the vents on either side and your cluster in the middle. But with the vents, we have some nice aluminum trim that goes along the outside, and even with the vent control, it's an aluminum bezel there, which looks really good. Nice attention to detail. More aluminum trim that goes along underneath there. And you can see from left to right, we have our eye active safety, which you can turn on and off, our 360-degree camera button, our parking sensors, traction control. Right underneath that, you have your 2 memory seating positions. And right underneath that, which a lot of people may not even know is here, even current Mazda owners, a nice cubby where you can hide stuff from people, presumably for coins, but you can fit all types of things in here. And of course, it's felt lined, so once again, really nice attention to detail there. Looking at the steering wheel, this has got a nice leather wrap with some, I'd say it's a dark gray contrast stitch, but this feels really nice to hold. It's got a little bit of cushion in it, but it still feels very nice and weighty, and it feels very premium. You'll see the materials, once again, more aluminum and physical buttons to control that, which I know a lot of you will appreciate, and a nice little chrome accent that goes along the middle here surrounding the Mazda emblem, which looks really cool. And since we're here in the middle, we can go ahead and check out our gauge cluster, which is going to be a partial LCD display, 7 inches, I believe 7.2. We can have our eye active display right now in the middle, which shows speed and line stop monitoring, lane keep assist, things like that, adaptive cruise control. But if we hit the info button on the steering wheel here, let's just cycle through a couple different displays, traditional gauge there for the speedometer, and then we can press it one more. It'll show things like direction we're heading, average fuel economy, and things to that nature. Of course, on the left and right, we're gonna have traditional analog gauges that's showing the RPM. We'll see the red line here is about 6,200 RPM. And then of course, on the right side, our fuel gauge. And in the middle, we have our Mazda infotainment display. And you see, we'll press the camera button. That'll bring up our 360 cam, which we have a really nice sharp display here, which looks like 1080p with dynamic lines. So you'll see as we'll turn the steering wheel here, that'll move the lines. But the top down is really cool, gives you a really good sense of where we are in our parking area. We press it again, that's going to throw you in an ultra wide. Let's say you're leaving a tight driveway or something, that helps you get out of there really nice and easy. And then once more, we'll put it on just the side so we can see how close we are. Let's say parallel parking, want to see the curbs. So yeah, nice couple different displays that we can cycle through there. And of course, with the Mazda navigation, which this is equipped with, I like how everything's controlled with the center dial. So I can just zoom in and out really easy here. And you can see everything in the area with the actual Mazda center knob, which is pretty responsive and reactive, which I like a lot. And then moving on from the screen, once again to the dash, a nice soft touch leather, which I'm really in love with the stitching leather at upper. That's one of the things that can be different in your 24 models. We have the 8-inch display here, and the 24s, we're going to get a 10-inch display, 10.25, the one that's going to be in the CX50s right now, which is going to be interesting to see how they do it space-wise. This is already at the edge. Maybe they'll cut some more into the dash there to make some more space. But in that new display, you'll be able to get wireless CarPlay now, Android Auto, and then standard in the premium and up trims, you'll see wireless charging as well. And of course, what everybody's been asking for. You will be able to get touchscreen on these newer ones, 24 models, but only for the CarPlay. And by default, it's set up to do only stationary, but you can switch it to do while you're driving as well. You just have to accept a few permissions. Checking out some more styling here. We have our nice aluminum trim that flows all the way. You can see that wraps around your air vent on the other side, but our HVAC control has got a nice feedback there. I like everything's attention to detail. Real physical buttons for your climate control, which seems to be a rarity in today's car market. Start and stop button right here. Once again, trim with aluminum. A common theme you'll see here, a lot of premium materials throughout. Same thing with our shifter here, leather wrap. And this, once again, using a 6-speed automatic. That's been a staple, bulletproof in the industry. But of course, you can put it in a manual mode because we have paddle shifters here, driver's vehicle, a lot of fun to drive when you really get on it. And of course, the eyes in the sky, the MI Drive controller for your main screen. A little bit of a learning curve when you first get to use this, but once you get going, really easy to use it while you're not looking while driving, which makes it a lot easier and a lot safer too. And some other things here, we see that pattern continue into the door, but not only the front, but the back as well, which is where a lot of manufacturers might cheap out at. They'll stop in the front because that's all who matters, but Mazda wants the entire car to feel the premium-esque. We'll see this nice red leather, almost looks like a wine red, that's how I describe it. But with our perforations here, some nice side bolstering up here, and these are really comfortable comfortable seats to sit in. Even for larger people, they've accommodated them really nice, and I like this a lot. Up towards the top, we have our frameless auto mirror here. We have underneath for your home link, but that's auto dimming as well as your outside mirrors there, so that'll darken in the presence of somebody putting their high beams on, so you don't have to go blind. And of course, in the Premium Plus trim, we're going to get standard heated steering wheel, heated seats, of course. Not cooled seats in this one. It hasn't trickled quite down to this trim level yet, but that's not a huge deal. Black headliner with sunglass holder. Once again, felt line. Great attention to detail there. LED lighting, if we turn that on, nice and white. And the same thing up here, we're going to get LED lighting for our vanity mirrors, which looks pretty cool here. And we have our little extensions here for the sun time, and that slides right in and out. So I like how everything is packaged up here. Really, really nice. We'll also be able to see when the car first turns on. There's nobody back there right now, but these light up, shows you who's buckled up in the back in the passenger. So you don't have to really look back there and play the guessing game, right? You just look up and it tells you. Here we are in the back seat of the 2023 Mazda 3, and we can see right away, not a ton of space here. Footroom is decent, it's acceptable, I guess. Same thing with the knee room. I've got maybe an inch. I got the seat where I would be sitting as a driver at a 6'1". So if I sit behind a shorter driver or shorter person, not a huge deal, but I wouldn't want to be back here for longer than maybe an hour or two. A road trip would be kind of tough. I wouldn't be able to stretch out. But once again, looking at some door materials here, everybody's remembered soft touch everywhere. Still the armrest there, and it's really nice. We still get a pretty sizable window here. It is a little bit of a blind spot right there for the driver and your C-pillars, just because of the design elements, but it's not a huge deal. And our drop down here, there's not too many accommodations. We don't get vents back here, no USBs, but we do get, once again, armrest, pretty plush, and then some real deal cup holders and a moonroof, so we get to see the nice blue sky today, no clouds. And of course, this is still going to be considered, a family vehicle in essence, so you do get your ISO fixed points if you want to lock your child seats in there. But I like how what they've done is kept the same design of the front seats for your outboard seats, and not so much the middle, but still, people on the outside, you're going to get a very similar design. to the front so nobody is forgotten back here. Once really one of my favorite Mazdas to sit in. The overall design is really nice and modern. All right, guys, so here we are driving the 2023 Mazda 3 Turbo Premium Plus. Yes, that's a mouthful to say every time, but right off the bat, a lot of things we're going to notice from this car is really just how smooth the overall car is. Checking out some features we got going. You can see right up there we have our heads-up display. Right now you're able to see the posted speed limit here. We can zoom in a little bit more. Probably able to see that. It'll say 35 miles an hour. As we approach the stop sign here, it does have traffic sign recognition, so you'll be able to see that as well, which is really neat. But in this trim, standard all-wheel drive means we can take a little bit of a beaten path like we are going to be driving right now, and it's going to handle it with relative ease. You know, minimal outside noise here. We're going over some rocks. You guys can take a listen. And so we're really not hearing much from the road at all, which is what's pretty impressive here. They put a lot of thought into giving it a nice blend of comfort, but yeah, a sporty ride. And you'll take a good look into that when we get on more of a curvier road like we have here. But with the Mazda 3 and all Mazdas, like I said, driver-focused vehicles, right? Horse and rider as one, Jimbai Itai, as they call it. They put a couple different technologies to the test. What they have in these cars, what they've been doing for a couple years, G-vectoring control. Basically what that is, it's gonna play with the engine torque to change the shift of the weight transfer on the vehicles for a more natural and predictable path while driving. But in this specific trim, we have G-vectoring control plus. What that's going to do, apply some light braking to the outside wheels to help stabilize the vehicle in the turns like we have right here. You won't feel the body roll quite as much, helps control the yaw there. But Mazda, what we know the best for is creating fun, engaging vehicles that are fun to drive. So we're going to give it a little bit of gas here as we're going through these turns, and you know, even one-handed, this car feels very confident throughout the turns. The all-wheel drive system is, you know, always working with those computers, and so it's doing a great job of predicting how to send the power to each wheel to easily compensate, and it never feels like an oversteer and an understeer. Something I really like about the steering is how weighty it really feels. It feels nice and heavy, but very precise. So it's got a real mechanical feeling, which I know a lot of manufacturers are moving away from, but Mazda, once again, driver's car, which I think is really important in this day and age. Everything is becoming kind of like a conformist car, right? They got to be at so many miles per gallon, and it's got to be so this and so that, but Mazda's just really making a car for people who really enjoy the art of driving, right? It's got a really rewarding engine note, as you guys can hear if we get on it. And this car just really wants you to just drive it as hard as you can. And you know, this is even a normal mode. We put it in sport mode, it's going to get more aggressive than that. But yeah, with this car, really soft, pleasant ride, and it handles even better. Definitely something that people of all ages are gonna really flock to and love. And you know, we could just get on it all day. It's just such a pleasant ride, really cool to get into. As we come to a stop here, going to do our, like we normally do, our 0 to 60 test. So let's go ahead and put our in the sport mode here. Get a little brake boosting, and 3, 2, 1. And we're off the line, no wheel split, and this thing is just powering through. And just like that, you know, we're at 60. So this thing moves. I think it's quoted at a 5.7 0 to 60, which is, you know, pretty quick for the segment. Nice little hot hatch, but just as important as speeding up, we're going to slow down, right? So we're at 50 miles an hour, and we're going to do a full emergency stop in 3, 2, 1. And you see it slows down pretty fast. No ABS lockup, so definitely going to prevent, you know, a good collision. And that's what I like about these Mazda cars. All around performance, you know, safety, of course. You know, these are segment leaders when it comes to that. They don't really miss anything when it comes to these cars. Really well-rounded and balanced vehicles. One thing they've done, which is really cool for the driving, you can see on the steering wheel they have traffic jam assist, this little button right here. Basically how that works is when you're moving on highway speeds of I believe it's 45 miles an hour and under, in addition to adaptive cruise control, which slows down and speeds up for you, you'll have some mild steering intervention will help center you in your lane, which is pretty cool. In the newer models for 2024s, I think they already have them in CX-90s, but moving to the Mazda 3s, they have the next level of that, which is the highway cruise assist or cruise control. I forget the exact naming of it, but it just takes that to the next level. So instead of just being only speeds of under 40, it's going to be, just whatever your cruising highway speed is. So that's pretty convenient when you're on the highway. Not really fully autonomous, but definitely provides some nice relief when you want to just rest your hands for a bit, and it'll go ahead and help keep you in those lanes when you're going along a nice bend or whatever the case may be. All right, guys, so this was the 2023 Mazda 3 Hatch Turbo Premium Plus review. Let me know, guys, if this is going to be the one you guys would choose for, because there's probably going to be some great deals on these. With the 24s coming out, is value going to be better, coming in at $36,000 versus the new ones are at $38,000? What are your guys' final thoughts? If you guys like to see some more of this, obviously comment down below and let me know what you guys think. Until the next time.